Hi everyone, welcome to JSJ Tuition. In this video we're going to be having a look at free body diagrams. So what is a free body diagram? A free body diagram is a diagram which represents all the forces that are acting on an object. We draw the diagram by representing the object as a dot. Once we have drawn the dot, we then draw the forces that act on the object. So before we can actually draw the diagram, we need to be familiar with what forces there are. What are the possible forces that could act on an object? So I'm going to go through the list of the different forces, especially the most common ones that act on an object, and then in another video I will show you how to do different calculations using these free body diagrams. But why do we need to be able to draw a free body diagram? A free body diagram helps us with identifying any net force that could be acting on an object, but ultimately the free body diagrams we use in a section in grade 11 which is called Newton's second law. If you cannot draw a free body diagram, then you will struggle to solve for the things that they're going to ask you in that section of Newton's second law. It is a very important topic as well. You do it in grade 11 and then it does follow on into matric, so very important. So the forces that act on an object, we'll start with Fa. So now I am using a symbol to represent the force, because when I draw my diagram I'm just going to use the symbols to represent the forces. Now if you are with a government school, then you have to use the labels that I am about to write down. You cannot give it any other label that you wish. Unfortunately, it is very strict with the labeling that you are allowed to use, so you can use these and these only. However, if you are in a private school and you're writing IEB exams, then you can use whatever labels you want for your forces, but then on the side you will have to write a key. So you'll draw your free body diagram, we'll get to drawing it now, and on the side you're going to write key, and then you're going to use whatever labels you wrote down to label your forces. You have to indicate what they represent. So if you label your forces A, B, C, and D, then you have to say A represents applied force, B represents gravitational force, whatever the case may be. You'll use a key, but I would recommend just double checking with your teacher what their preference is for that. Okay, so back to the forces. I've decided to start with Fa, and Fa is an applied force. Okay, an applied force is a push or pull, so it's you physically pushing something, pulling something, whatever the case may be. That is an applied force. Then we get Fn, okay, or actually you can label it just N. So Fn or N, this is a normal force. And a normal force is only present when an object is on a surface. So your water bottle resting on a desk, you sitting on a chair, you standing on the floor, anything with an object on a surface, a normal force will be present. And what this normal force does is it opposes the weight of that object on that surface. So why, when you put something on a surface, does it not fall through the surface? Sometimes it does, but not every time. That's due to a normal force. So the normal force opposes that weight. So it prevents the object from falling through the surface. But sometimes when the weight is too heavy, the object will fall through the surface. Okay, such as a chair breaking, table breaking, whatever the case may be. And when you draw your normal force in your free body diagram, the normal force must always be perpendicular to the surface. So I will get more examples and elaborate a little bit more on this once I've gone through all the forces that we get. Then we get Fk, Fs, or they can just label it Ff. Okay, so these are all very similar. They all fall under friction forces. Fk is your kinetic friction. Fs is static friction. and then FF is just frictional force. Now, I don't recommend using the FF because that's a very general term. It's just saying there's friction present. But they do like you to be specific about what type of force is present. So you either have a kinetic friction or static friction. Plainly put, kinetic means moving, static means not moving. So if we have a kinetic friction being present, that means that the object is moving and the friction is opposing that motion. Static friction means the object is not moving, but friction is present and it's actually preventing the object from moving. So I will get to more examples on this later on, and then I will elaborate. But basically, main thing I want you to know with friction, kinetic or static, is it always opposes the motion of the object. So what I mean is if the object is moving to the right, friction will be to the left. If the object is moving up, friction will be down. It's opposite to where the object is actually moving. Okay. Then we have Fg, or you could actually call it W for weight. That is gravitational force. Or weight. This is always down. So I'm just going to put an arrow showing down. That basically means that regardless of where your object is, what your object's doing, gravity is always going to be straight down. I'm emphasizing that it's straight down because we are going to get to a few examples where sometimes people don't draw gravity down. Then we have T, or you could call it capital T, and this is tension. So tension is very similar to applied force, where you have a push or pull on, okay, not a push or pull, a pull on an object. You're causing the object to move, but it's when there is a rope or a string involved. So if there is a rope involved or a string, you basically connect the string to the object and you pull it like that. Okay. That's when we'll have tension. So tension replaces applied force once you have a rope or string involved. Okay, so now that we know the different forces that can act on an object, I'm going to show you how to draw a free body diagram. So now we said that the dot represents the object. When we draw the forces that are acting on the object now, you're going to draw arrows. Okay. Preferably with the ruler. Let me try that again. So you are going to draw arrows, and these arrows represent the forces. So when you draw your arrows, they have to go out of the dot. They can't go into the dot. So if you draw an arrow and it goes towards the dot like that, that is wrong. That will be marked wrong. Another thing for those writing government papers, they're very strict with the marking of the free body diagram. So when you draw the arrow head, please make sure that it does connect with the actual arrow. If you draw an arrow like that, and there's actually just this little gap between the arrowhead and the arrow, then it is wrong. So just make sure, if you have to color it in so you know that they are connected, that's fine, you can do that. But just make sure if it goes to the dot, it's wrong. It has to go out of the dot, and you must connect the arrowhead to the line of your arrow. Okay, so that's how we draw the free body diagram. I want to actually add one more force to our list of forces. It is called Fa, and this is air resistance. Now, air resistance works very similar to friction in the sense that it will always oppose the motion of the object. So if you have an aeroplane and it's flying to the right, air resistance will be to the left. So it's sort of the replacement of friction for an object that is in the air. Usually we don't apply or label air resistance to an object on the ground. It's usually only for an object that is in the air. So that is all that I'm going to go over for this video. keep this in mind. Maybe write a little list for yourself, keep it on the side, make notes of how you can draw a free body diagram. This is all for this video. In the next video, I'm going to post all the different scenarios and examples of different situations of an object and its motion, as well as its corresponding free body diagrams. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my resources to stay on top of your studies. See you in the next video.